right, Mike, we wanted to kick off 2-for-1 drafts with a little NFL surprises. You know, we don't have to talk rookies and draft prospects every single time. Got to look at the NFL, got to look at the overall storylines. Let's start with this right now. Who is your most surprising team in the NFL through 2 weeks?
I think the most surprising team to me, and it's not in a good way, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. Because everyone thought, you know, wide receivers are back. You have Deshaun Jackson, obviously Alshon Jeffrey's still hurt, but you have Deshaun Jackson. You got Jalen Reagor, the emphasis on giving Carson Wentz more weapons. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside going into year 2. Offensive line still solid, even though you don't have Brandon Brooks. You didn't have Lane Johnson week 1. But Carson Wentz has been the worst quarterback in the NFL through 2 weeks.
Yes.
Not even like a debate. He's been awful, and it's not just, oh, you know, like maybe he's under pressure and had a tough situation. No, he's missed a zillion throws, lowest on-target rate of any quarterback in the NFL, and the most turnover-worthy plays of any quarterback in the NFL. And it's not like he went against world-beater defenses in the Washington football team and the Los Angeles Rams. Like I'm not hating on their defenses by any means, but he had opportunities, and he's just played awful. And so for them to be 0-2, that's a pretty darn big surprise to me.
I would agree. I mean, Carson Wentz is literally the lowest graded quarterback through week 2, a 44.0 PFF grade. There is no debate there. Also, I mean, the offensive line has not been good in Philadelphia, and they're also battling injuries. But you combine that with poor quarterback play, the wide receivers struggling, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside not taking that second-year step, and then now you have the offensive line play. I mean, it's just been a tough go on the offensive side of the ball for Carson Wentz and company. Go ahead.
It's not good, though, compared to what it has been.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just compare it to the rest of the league, it's like you can win with that offensive line. Like the Bengals fans around here would kill for what the Philadelphia Eagles have been throwing out there along that offensive line this year. It's just that it's not a top 3, top 5 offensive line like Carson Wentz has been accustomed to, and it's a little worrisome. Like the way he's played through 2 weeks, there's no sugarcoating it. That's not starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yep.
You cannot win with quarterback play that bad.
My biggest surprise, and I'll go on the bad side as well, is the Houston Texans starting out 0-2. Deshaun Watson has played well. I think he ranks inside the top 20 in PFF grades so far this year. I like their weapons, even though Will Fuller did come up lame with a hamstring injury in this past week. I still like Brandon Cooks. I think they have enough tight end talent. The offensive line isn't great, but like you said, there's other bad offensive lines in the NFL. The problem has been the defense. In week 1, they struggled with missed tackles. Zach Cunningham and Bernardrick McKinney did not live up to expectation. And then you add into that, their secondary is not good. A very bad secondary outside of Justin Reed. And I think it surprised me because I felt going into week 1, that Chiefs-Texans game, I thought this Texans team could be a team that could compete with the Kansas City Chiefs, be one of those, contenders in the AFC. But the more you look at how this defense is playing, I don't know if Deshaun Watson and company is enough to overcome the flaws they have on that side of the ball. I see them not necessarily being the contender we thought they were heading into this year.
See, this one's not that surprising to me. These were the 1 and 2 seeds last year that they played in the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're supposed to lose to the teams. Like these
Fair,
were the teams they were supposed to lose to. They weren't going to be favored in either of these games. And to me, you mentioned the defense. I always thought the defense was going to be bad. They didn't make any changes in that secondary. Like it was going to be what you saw last year, which was not good. So to me, the offense has been more of a surprise. 36 points through 2 games offensively. Mm-hmm. 18 points a game with Deshaun Watson. I get you lost DeAndre Hopkins, but this was, he was supposed to have a good offensive line. You still have good receivers. Baltimore does have a good defense, yes, but for them to look like that they did against KC and then back-to-back weeks to just put up nothing offensively, that's worrisome. Heading into week 3 now, Pittsburgh, it ain't going to get any easier.
Dude, Pittsburgh's defensive line
has just demolished teams. Over 50% pressure in both games. So
this past week, they had 4 defenders finish with more than 5 pressures in a single game. That's just absurd.
They are in trouble. They're very much in trouble of starting 0-3 here, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but not a lot of teams start 0-3 and make the playoffs.
Who's positively surprising you? Let's go into the positive end here.
I think the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've said this. I thought they were going to be the number 1 overall pick.
You never believed in Minshew.
I didn't believe in Minshew, all right? You had to bring him up. It's like a pod requirement. Every pod we got to bring up Gardner Mitchell. Yeah, I didn't believe in him, and he's proven me wrong. He's played very well, even in their loss this past week against Tennessee. He still, led them to a close game against a playoff team there in the Titans. So I don't think they will be getting the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick or probably even the number 3 pick at this point. So they've definitely surprised me in terms of how well they've looked the first 2 weeks.
Some of the notes I had on Gardner Minshew's performance this past week, I thought he navigated the pocket really well. I think he makes good decisions under pressure. That some of those passes under pressure where he puts some touch on the ball, identifies a one-on-one situation and puts it right where it needs to be, I thought were really impressive. Specifically, that Chris Thompson touchdown with a man in his face, I think it was Jadeveon Clowney. It's really impressive what he does under pressure. I think he's very calm under pressure and also accurate with the football. That was what he was at Washington State. That's what he was in the NFL. He's very accurate throwing downfield. I thought, again, another impressive performance for Gardner Minshew this past week. The most positive team or positive surprise for me is Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. I knew this was going to be a good football team. I'm not surprised they started 2-0. They played two bad football teams to start the season. However, how well Josh Allen has played through the first 2 weeks, I think, is impressive. Passing over 300 yards in both games. Obviously had multiple touchdowns in those. It's not about the box scores necessarily, but right now, and people who criticize PFF will be upset that he even ranks 15th in PFF grade, but I see that as very impressive. He's way more accurate throwing downfield, has had some mishaps of some fumble concerns here and there, but however, Josh Allen playing like this, and probably even a little bit better as he moves forward, is huge for this Buffalo Bills team because their defense is good. We knew that. And adding Stephon Diggs, the offensive line is up there. I really do think the Buffalo Bills are a very good team this year. And if Josh Allen can maintain what he's doing right now, even at 15th in the NFL, I think that's enough for this Buffalo Bills team to be a legit contender.
Yeah, they are on the kind of opposite end of the Texans in that they played the Jets and they played the Dolphins.
Yes, they're two bad football teams.
They were going to smoke those teams. But I agree that Josh Allen, like just because you're playing a bad defense, you still have to make throws. And he's made throws far better than I expected. The crazy stats for Josh Allen here, his stats under pressure this year, he's 15 of 22 for 300 yards. That's 13.6 yards per attempt with 4 touchdowns and no picks under pressure with only 3 sacks taken all year.
He's been really good throwing the ball downfield.
Yeah.
Like what he's done, and obviously under pressure too, but like I mean, you look at the stats of like 20 plus air yards, like he is on the money and really thriving with now Stephon Diggs in the lineup. Let's go to biggest surprise for 0-2. Biggest surprise for that team that's 0-2, or I guess the surprise 0-2 team that is in the most trouble.
Yes. So if we're talking about like surprise 0-2 teams, the Jets and the Dolphins, they don't qualify.
Yeah,
like, those are not surprise 0-2 teams. To me, the Minnesota Vikings, like I think people thought, them going 0-2 was a surprise. Maybe they weren't supposed to beat, the Packers and the Colts. Maybe I guess they were favored week 1 against the Packers. So them being 0-2, a little bit of a surprise. But I do think the way they went 0-2, even more of a surprise, where they just got manhandled by both of those offenses that they faced in the Packers and the Colts. And we knew this interior offensive line was going to be an issue. It has been an issue. Their guards are rough. Drew Samia got thrown this past week by DeForest Buckner. It's just not going to be good. And especially if you're throwing out the youth they are in the secondary and they're not coming along as well as you would like them to. I don't see how they recover from this. And especially in the
offense is anemic. It is struggling to put up points. I mean, I know Eric said he expected regression, losing Stefanski and Kirk Cousins having to do things differently this year, but it has not looked anywhere near like the same offense. And people understated the Stephon Diggs loss. They have Adam Thielen, they added Justin Jefferson in the draft, but you don't see those receivers creating a ton of separation. Olabisi Johnson, I'm sorry, is not getting it done. Like this offense has a lack of playmakers. Yep. Adam Thielen's great, and he's up there in the top graded receivers so far this year, according to PFF, but he can't do it by himself. I think losing Stephon Diggs was big, losing Stefanski was big, and not making significant upgrades along the offensive line now has this team sitting at 0-2 with not a lot of hope. Dr. Eric Eager calls them the 3rd worst team in the NFL. Through 2 weeks. He's hard on the Vikings not being good. Biggest surprise for me, and it's largely because I don't know how they lost this last week, is the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons offense is good. Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones are playing out of this world. Obviously, Julio Jones had that drop this past week and didn't live up to fantasy expectation, but both those receivers are top receivers in the NFL. I said that Calvin Ridley is top 8 in the NFL right now. I'm feeling good about what he can do. Specifically, to talk about Ridley for a little bit, what I really liked when I was studying him in the offseason, May, June, was how he created separation and used his leverage to create separation against off coverage. Because he sees so much off coverage, but doing it and creating separation when the outside cornerback will have advantage was really impressive with me. And you continue to see that against Dallas as well. It's not like he's only beating press at the line. I think Calvin Ridley's playing really well right now. He's the highest graded receiver in football, according to PFF, through 2 weeks. But the Falcons 0-2. They should have beat Dallas. And that was a bad New Orleans Saints offense. That was a game they should have won as well. Like, that was one where they were given an opportunity to win that football. Not New Orleans Saints. Sorry.
Yeah. I was like, what
I've lost there. But I mean, I think the Falcons going down. Yeah. The Falcons going down 0-2 and losing to the Cowboys this past week is they're in trouble now. I mean, it's going to be hard to come back in that division.
Yeah, I could see them bouncing back though because of what we just mentioned.
Yeah.
They have two very good receivers. Maybe probably the best 1-2 punch in the NFL with Matt Ryan at quarterback. Like they have the firepower to win any game. And what are they probably like? They're probably top 3 in the league in scoring right now after through 2 weeks. So they can put up the points. It's just that defense is rough, and the defense will give up a lot of passing yards this season, unfortunately, because they, one, struggle to rush the passer, and two, they just have very young secondary. So I do think they are in trouble, but I could see them bouncing back to some degree just because they are so good offensively.
It'll be tough to win in that division. I mean, you sneak in as a wild card contender. All right, 2-0 team you don't believe is legit.
I don't think the Rams, I didn't think they were going to be great heading into the season. Their defense has exceeded my expectations a bunch, but they also faced Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz is just all over the map. Like that helped them a lot. Obviously, them shutting down the Cowboys was impressive, but I think this team is a great front runner, and they are successful when they have leads. And you saw they've used play action 48% of the time this year. Jared Goff's been under pressure only 28% of the time this year. And when he has been under pressure, he's been the Jared Goff we know and don't like under pressure, a 34.9 passing grade under pressure. But they've just schemed very well to not have him under pressure. But I think if they get behind, they don't have a lead. If they aren't being able to stay on schedule, you're going to see him be under a lot more pressure because I still don't trust that offensive line after what we saw from them last year and just what they're throwing out there. So as much as, they've beaten 2 probably quality football teams in the Dallas Cowboys and maybe the Philadelphia Eagles, we don't know at this point how they look. I do think that they probably come back down to earth at some point, especially once you start going up against 49ers, Arizona Cardinals, Seattle Seahawks in your division. That's going to be just difficult to sustain.
I'm saying I think the Rams are more legit than you. I think what the offense – I think Sean McVay has taken back way more control of the offense. Seth Galina talks about all the time, like he's the puppet master there. Doesn't let Jared Goff make his own mistakes. He's going to make the mistakes for him. And I think that has a path to success. We saw that when they went to the Super Bowl, and I think they're getting back to that a little bit. This was a tough question for me. I think a lot of the 2-0 teams are very good, and I think the Arizona Cardinals are very good. But if I had to think one that wasn't necessarily legit, I'm going to go the Arizona Cardinals. And I was high on them going into this year, but the reason being that I think their defense isn't good. Their offensive line is a liability. And they're going to have to chunk their way down the football field a lot too, because they're not asking Kyler Murray to push the ball downfield a ton. I know he opened it up a little bit in week 2, but right now only a 7.4 average depth to target. That ranks 19th. His PFF grade through 2 weeks ranks 19th. I think I'd like to see them have a playmaker outside of DeAndre Hopkins. I think right now it's feeding DeAndre Hopkins and then some shot plays to Andy Isabella, Christian Kirk. That was a beautiful pass down the sideline. I still feel like there's a lot of weaknesses on this team that better teams exploit. The San Francisco 49ers got beat in week 1, and this past team, they were not going against a very good Washington football team, specifically offensively. I'm interested to see how this Cardinals team progresses. They're going to be better than last year. They already are. I just don't know if they're going to be that 2-0 team that turns us into a deep postseason run.
Yeah, there are some issues offensively. Their passing offense hasn't been great, and it's been just DeAndre Hopkins. 40%. He has over 40% of the receiving yards on the season. I do love that they're getting the ball in Kyler Murray's hands more as a runner.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's been huge and a big reason for their offensive success. So there is reason to me, like the more you can do that, the more I think you can just sustain a consistent offense. You have a higher floor offensively when you have a quarterback that can run like that. So I do think to some degree there's a lot of room to be hopeful that they can sustain this. But I do agree that there's issues defensively and issues on that offensive line that I'd be worried about. I
mean, J.R. Sweezy is one of the lowest graded offensive linemen in football right now. He's getting tossed left and right. It's going to be tough for him this year. All right, we're going to pivot now to Mike's Rolling Rooks, the top 5 rookies from week 2. I like this. I like these names, man. I'm also big on one name that didn't make the cut, but I think there was a lot of talent this past week.
All right, number 1, we're going to kick it off. Tristan Wirfs, highest graded rookie this past week, going up against Carolina Panthers. Not a great matchup. He went up against Stephen Weatherly, I believe, more than he did Brian Burns. Only 2 hurries on the day. Neither were terribly egregious. One, he got a bull rush back in the pocket. One was the inside move that was actually against Burns that he pushed past Brady. Brady snuck out the right side. It wasn't that impactful. So Liked what I saw there. 2 big-time blocks in the day from him. And that's just comes after also what we saw from him in week 1, just holding his own against Cameron Jordan. He didn't dominate Cameron Jordan by any means. I think Cameron Jordan got him on a few reps for sure. But that's Cameron Jordan. That's a perennial Pro Bowl defensive end who is a difficult matchup, play in and play out. To hold your own as a rookie in your first game, pretty impressive. So he's going to be my number 1 most impressive rookie of the week.
I think, with Tristan Wirfs, and we've talked about offensive line play a lot on this podcast, specifically rookie offensive line play. What you look for is not getting beat badly. And Tristan Wirfs through 2 weeks now has not gotten beat badly. Obviously had the inside, he allowed a pressure on Burns on the inside move, but still was able to push him out. Was not like an emphatic loss by any means. Derek Brown pushed him into the pocket a bit with an illegal hands to the face penalty, kind of caused that for the most part. I think Tristan Wirfs not being on the stat sheet, not being standing out is big for him, because they've asked him to go against some decent talent. Obviously Cameron Jordan week 1, who hasn't looked good. Opposite of him is Donovan Smith, who's been getting kind of torched a bit and even called out by Bruce Arians. But I would agree. I mean, he's the highest graded rookie this past week according to PFF. Of course he's going to be number 1, but I think stacking that on top of a performance in week 1 that was impressive. Tristan Wirfs out of the gate looking really good.
And it's huge for the Bucs because that was their hole. Like that was what they needed offensively with Tom Brady and this dream team that they've assembled down there in Tampa. Not a lot. It's difficult to rely on a first-year offensive tackle. Like even some of the best in the NFL nowadays, like even some guys who are elite now, we're not that way as rookies. Like that was a big risk to go for a guy and have to plug him in right away because you were so thin at that position. But man, it looks like it's paid off in a big way. It looks like he's going to be just a solid offensive tackle. Probably, like I said, better than Donovan Smith right out the gate. Obviously encouraging you to pay Donovan Smith a ton of money. So number 2 on my list, Rolling Rooks of the week, CeeDee Lamb becomes the first wide receiver from the vaunted 2020 class to go over 100 yards. Does it with maybe an OPI there on that last play, just under 2 minutes, the one that got them into field goal range after they got the onside kick. But to me, the more impressive rep that he had was a 3rd and 7 with like 6 minutes to go. He's running a crossing route against man coverage. Not a good route to run against man coverage because there's no real break on the route. You're running in a straight line. It's like speed versus speed. If the corner's fast than you, he's going to be able to keep up. But he got that separation at the line of scrimmage. In press coverage at the line of scrimmage, he had a nice fake outside release and got that separation at the line of scrimmage and then never let it go and caught a contested catch for a big 3rd down there. So CeeDee Lamb, to me, second most impressive rookie of the week.
His most impressive route wasn't the one where he put Drake Kirkpatrick in a blender on the out route. Did you see that? That one was also insane. He got from the slot, worked literally Drake Kirkpatrick falls on his back. Nate Tice put it out, and then I went back and watched it on the All-22. That's another really impressive route, that CeeDee Lamb. That was the one I highlighted. I thought what I put in here with Lamb is nice route on the goal line that he got bailed out by bad throw. I mean, not bailed out, but got kind of screwed over by a bad throw. But I think what I saw too is like the same route running that he was using to create separation in Oklahoma in the Big 12 was also creating separation against NFL defensive backs. And I think that seeing his style lead to open receptions against coverage, single coverage and zone concepts was really impressive. Not surprised that he's already off to a really hot start. I think he had a really high floor in this class from among the receivers that were drafted.
Drake Kirkpatrick plays for the Cardinals.
Not Drake Kirkpatrick then. Number 34. Who was that? I don't even know who got destroyed on that one.
The slot corner?
Yeah.
That was the one I'm talking about, the OPI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You think that was OPI?
Yeah, he pushed off. I mean, that was the one to get him into field goal range, yeah. All right, number 3, Jonah Jackson, Detroit Lions guard, 77.0 overall grade this past week. Only one bad rep in pass pro all game long against the Packers, and 2 pretty nasty pancake blocks in the day. He looks like he belongs. He didn't have a great grade week 1, but he was blocking Akeem Hicks all week. And similar to Tristan Wirfs, that all game. Similar to Tristan Wirfs, where the grade wasn't great for Wirfs week 1, but if you're holding your own and not getting your butt whooped by a Pro Bowl type of player in your first week, that's usually an encouraging sign. So Jonah Jackson through 2 weeks, as expected, I'll say, from how high we were on him.
Yeah, I mean, multiple pancakes in the run game is big, too, because he graded really well in pass protection, but wasn't necessarily super high graded as a run blocker. But I thought he handled the first level really well. Moving up to the second level, I saw sometimes, moving laterally, there were some just guys that faster than him. But I think overall, Jonah Jackson, again, we're talking about rookie offensive linemen that we, have harped on being very difficult to translate so instantly. Yeah. But Jonah Jackson, Tristan Wirfs, I throw Mekhi Becton in there, have all looked so much better than you maybe would have thought going in, especially with the abbreviated offseason, no preseason. These guys are coming in and playing really well. So Jonah Jackson, well deserving of that number 3 spot, in my opinion.
All right, 4 and 5 my list for Rolling Rooks. Both Kansas City Chiefs, both defensively, looking already like 2 of the steals of the draft. L'Jarius Sneed, LA Tech corner/safety, has looked great out the gate. 2 picks in 2 weeks. This past week, 4 of 6 targets for 37 yards. Only 2 of those 6 targets ended up going for first downs. And he had that nice pick where it was more of a bad throw from Justin Herbert, to be honest. But I thought, through 2 weeks, you can't, for him to be playing safety last year at LA Tech, and now he played corner before that. Safety last year at LA Tech, 4th rounder, and he's played about as well as any cornerback not named CJ Henderson or Jalen Johnson through 2 weeks. That's really impressive to me. And then this guy, Tershawn Wharton, defensive tackle. They list him at 255 because that's what he was listed at in college. There's no way he's 255. This guy came out of nowhere. Missouri S&T is where he's from. He is small, though, for a defensive tackle, but they play him at nose tackle because this guy he plays with the most ridiculous leverage. I haven't seen anyone get lower than him. He had 5 positively graded plays on 15 snaps week 1, 5 more this past week on 29 snaps, 2 run stops. This guy's legit. This guy came out of nowhere, UDFA for the Chiefs, and I think they got a player in Tershawn Wharton.
Wow.
Right?
Go back to the tape on this
This guy, he's very good.
That's a deep dive, a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Honorable mentions here. I know you have highlighted Chase Claypool, had a really nice catch down the sideline. Yeah. I also put in Mekhi Becton. I thought he still looks, after week 1 and week 2, he's graded really well, looks really good in the run game. And I think similar to Wirfs, his losses aren't bad. He's not getting torched in pass protection. He's had some beats. He's given up some pressures this season, but the losses are not nearly as bad as you would expect from rookie offensive linemen. And we had concerns with his, true pass blocking snaps, the amount he had, the experience he had at Louisville, but he's looking the part out of the gate for the New York Jets. All right, you ready to jump to After Close, our second-year player segment here? I have some names listed, but before we jump to that, which is going to be some good names, we got to jump to our sponsors real quick. After Close, guy I want to start with who saw significant snaps to the Los Angeles Rams because Cam Akers went down with injury was Darrell Henderson. And a lot of people liked him coming out of Memphis, and he had a very high forced missed tackle rate for us coming out of Memphis. And this one, I think he led all backs or tied for the lead with all backs with 5 forced missed tackles. I thought it was a very good game for him. I think the box score was a little bit better than maybe how he performed, but I still felt like it was a good game for Darrell Henderson, one that, he's benefiting from what is positive aggression along the Rams offensive line. Last year was terrible, but some of the similar names, I feel like they're just playing more up to expectation. Rob Havenstein and company are playing more up to expectation, reading that well, one cut type of back where when he sees the hole and hits it, he's a load to bring down. I think Darrell Henderson, really taking advantage of the opportunity he has right now. Yeah, and what I liked was how they used him in that game because if you go back to his Memphis tape and how they used him at Memphis, it was wide runs. He's kind of a skinnier back, and they were not down. They weren't hitting him on a lot of inside zone, downhill concepts. They were pitching it to him, getting him out on an outside zone. That's what you saw this past week. Outside of that one goal line run, which was pretty nice, you saw him getting the ball wide. And then, like you said, one cut runner. He puts his foot in the ground, gets upfield, and he has that burst out of his cuts. That is why they drafted him in the 3rd round. And so I think the usage goes hand in hand playing
with
to
his
strengths.
Yes, exactly. Goes hand in hand with him looking good as well.
And we've had this conversation before about coaches and obviously play design matters, play calling, decision making in critical situations. But another thing, and I've stressed this too, is just putting players that you have in a position to succeed. That's what Sean McVay does with Jared Goff. That's what he's doing now with Darrell Henderson. Identifying your players' strengths and knowing their weaknesses to put an offense or a defense together to leverage them is huge. And they're doing exactly that with Darrell Henderson. The other name, Terry McLaurin, went off a little bit in a little bit of an interesting game for the Washington football team, but I think he continues to, what I saw on tape, his speed, man. He gets out very fast, very explosive, and really puts pressure on defensive backs to react and open hips and stuff, and he continues to create separation at a high level. I'm going to highlight him and Deontay Johnson, who I put in all caps in my notes, roller coaster. I mean, he's got 2 really bad drops on tape, but then he has like sick moves after the catch, like legit moves different. And never, I mean, the long touchdown, but never in doubt. I mean, he was just burning the guy the whole way. And then eventually, as Ben Roethlisberger scrambled right, got 2 there. And he also had like a really impressive catch on a curl route that like he's got like these focus drops that like make you like grab your head, and then a fumble every once in a while. Not this past week, but roller coaster for sure. But Terry McLaurin and Deontay Johnson both getting heavy volume and looking the part in year 2.
Yeah, and Deontay, we kind of said it. Like you saw the talent there, even as a rookie. He was second in the NFL in broken tackles after the catch. You see the ability with him, even dating back to Toledo. It's been about consistency. Like the guy just has reps and plays that are so boneheaded, and you just can't live with. You can't, like, those turn into picks. Those turn into negative plays when you are making bad decisions or just like out of it on certain plays the way he is. But the talent, I mean, he's right up there with pretty much anyone in the draft class in terms of what he can do. So big game this week. I think he'll continue. I think he's their outside guy. Like, I think he's the guy that Ben Roethlisberger is going to go to most on the outside.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Juju on the side.
I mean, he's leading the team in target share. I mean, Andrew Erickson, one of our fantasy analysts, sees him finishing ahead of Juju Smith-Schuster in fantasy points when it's all said and done this year. 2 more names on the offensive side of the ball: DK Metcalf and Noah Fant. Metcalf putting on a show against Stephon Gilmore. The curl route was super impressive. Obviously, the deep touchdown. I'm a huge fan. I mean, he just put, again, similar to McLaurin, like his explosive ability just puts pressure on cornerbacks as good as Stephon Gilmore, and it opens things up. I mean, really impressive week 2 for DK.
We said it, man. That was why he was our top receiver in that draft class, because the vertical route tree.
He wins those.
Go balls, hitches, double moves. I don't know what you're going to do. The guy's 228 pounds, runs a 4.3. And like, what are you going to do to that? Like, you got to be a specimen to even think about guarding him on a vertical route tree. And especially if you pair him with someone like Russell Wilson, who throws about the prettiest deep ball in the NFL. Like, that is just a match made in heaven.
Copying Chris now. Chris called him the best deep ball thrower in the NFL on Sunday night. Yeah.
I don't listen to Chris. Sorry, Chris. No, but he really does. And that, like, the usage there, the way they've used him is perfect. And that's why I said he was our number 1 receiver, because you felt just sure that skill set was going to work out. Now, is he going to ever be anything more than that? Is he going to be DeAndre Hopkins? I don't think so. Like, he's just not a complete route runner. Don't think he has that sort of flexibility.
He doesn't have to be.
But you don't have to be, exactly. Like, that, where he's winning just so happens to be very valuable. And so, as we've seen with the Seahawks this year,
What was your opinion of Noah Fant this past week? He had a big week.
Noah Fant, he's been a lot better than I expected. And also the way they're using him is how you can win with tight end in the NFL. With guys have speed, you match them up on linebackers who don't have speed. You don't have to do much then to win. Like, you don't have to be a nuanced route runner to provide value. They're running him on crossers, corners, vertical seam routes. That's how they're using him, and that's just a mismatch for opposing defenses. He won on a corner against, was it Devin Bush this week, who actually, like, he has speed himself, but it's just difficult when you have a tight end that runs a 4.5 to account for him, because usually you don't have a player, you know, in the area of the field he is going to be in that also runs a 4.5. And if you don't, and he's running a straight, you know, like I said, crosser, go, vertical, something like that, it's going to be difficult.
2 defensive second-year players I want to bring up. 2 of my favorite tapes this week, actually, going back and watching the All-22, Dexter Lawrence and Quinnen Williams. Both these guys dominated the line of scrimmage, had multiple splash plays as run defenders. I thought, starting with Dexter Lawrence, I don't think there was a Bears offensive lineman that could really hold up with him one-on-one. There was one double team that he kind of got pushed off the line of scrimmage on, but everything else, like winning one-on-one matchups, pushing people back, constantly around the football. Dexter Lawrence really impressive against the run. I'm pretty sure right now he ranks top 5 in PFF grade among those at his position. And Quinnen Williams, I said it, I tweeted it out, it was the best game of his career. Easily the best game of his career.
That one was the one that really, to me, stuck out in that splash plays. Mm-hmm. You didn't see.
Dude, he beats that pulling guard on that one up to, I mean, that's the explosiveness off the snap was like, I wrote it like 5 times. Like, you can't top that.
And that was the weirdest part about his rookie year, was that you thought you'd at least see the splash plays. Maybe he would have a lot of negative plays to, you know, make up for it, or just like not be the same sort of, you know, consistently see those splash plays. But you didn't see any. Like, you just saw a guy who was a different player altogether. But this is the first game where you really saw multiple times where it just like pops off the screen. It's like, oh, that guy, that's that's different. Like, like only not a lot of defense tackles can make the play he just made. And that's what we thought he would be coming out. That's why we were so high on him. And I think they're finally sort of seeing that guy, which also kind of, whatever happened to the gun thing?
I don't know what happened with that.
He timed that so perfectly. It was like a week before COVID. He went to an airport with the gun.
That's right.
COVID happened. I think the New York penal system forgot about it. Like everyone forgot about it. So.
I have no idea what happened. I remember we were talking about it on the podcast. Like, dude, what's going on?
Yeah, I was like,
year, is this the end?
Worried that he would never play a snap in the NFL again, and now,
dude, there's that rep too. Go back and watch Quinn Williams tape. But there's that rep against Trent Williams too, where he jacks him up and you see him get inside. It's just, I was really impressed with what Quinn Williams did this past week. Let's get to people we weren't so impressed with, or specifically a rookie we weren't impressed with. I texted you today. I thought it was one of the worst performances I've seen from a center in a while. Blackout performance. Lloyd Cushenberry of the Denver Broncos allowed 8 pressures, but also was pantsed in the run game multiple times. A lot of negatively graded plays in this one. Lloyd Cushenberry couldn't handle Tyson Alualu, got beat by Cameron Hayward. The Steelers could do no wrong against this guy, and honestly, it was just in over his head, honestly.
Yeah. There's something about the center position. There's just like got to be so much to handle right out the gate that we've seen. I mean, we saw it last year with Garrett Bradbury. Some guys just have some nightmarish performances when they're not ready. That was Lloyd Cushenberry this past week, where it's just, and he's going up against Tyson Alualu, which I can't say that's an easy sort of matchup because he's the highest graded defense tackle in the NFL right now.
Due in large part to going against Lloyd Cush.
But he was also very good in week 1 against, was it Jalapeno or whoever he was going up against for the Giants. I do think that, though, that this Cushenberry, like that's who we kind of saw last year.
It was. No,
like
didn't he allow more pressures than any other center in football last year?
Yeah, so I didn't think his pass pro would be great out the gate, and well, it hasn't been great out the gate.
Honorable mention, some rookie corners here. Let's start with Jeffrey Okudah.
Dude, the rookie corners this year, 3 guys allowed 100 yards last week. 3 different guys now allowed 100 yards this week.
Was also lost in the sauce.
They threw him on Stephon Diggs, though.
Yeah, he was following Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Come on. Well, you're asking for death. I mean, Jeffrey Okudah was following Devontae Adams into the slot. Like, I don't know what you're asking them to do, but you're going against Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams are 2 of the better route runners in the NFL. You're going to ask them to go against them in 2-way goes from the slot? Hello. You just got, Jeffrey Okudah got baked 3 times in a row, it felt like. Igbenogany also gave up over 100 yards. Both those guys really struggled. Ojemudia, too.
The Dolphins and the Jets had a tank off because the Dolphins had Igbenogany follow Stephon Diggs in man coverage, which might as well be like red sirens going off. Yes. Like we're trying to lose. Let me put my rookie corner who barely played week 1 on maybe the best route runner in the NFL. What do you think's going to happen? No help. And then the Jets gave Frank Gore 21 carries in a game. They were like getting killed. Why are you giving a 30?
Dude, the Jets ran the football as many times as the Niners did in that game. And they were losing from the get. That doesn't make any sense. How are you running the football that much? When Sam Darnold, too, in garbage time is slinging it. Like that throw I highlighted on Twitter, encourage you to go to the timeline. Like Sam Darnold was putting it on the money. And here we are running Frank Gore on early downs into the pit of misery.
He had 21 carries for 63 yards. Like it's not like 21 carries and he went for like 105. Like there was like they saw something there that they liked. No, they just pounded a 37-year-old running back for no reason.
Dude,
so
embarrassing, honestly.
But yes, the rookie corners, Okudah, Igbenogany, and Ojemudia giving up.
I'm glad he even got worked a little bit on limited snaps too. Wasn't a good week for rookie corners. Let's raise the glass. Raise the glass. Let's get some positive here. Let's go to college. It was not a good week of games, Mike.
Bad slate. And the ones
we lost Chaz Surratt too. Charlotte canceled. Houston Baylor canceled. It was brutal, man. Absolutely brutal. The best game, honestly, to watch was Louisville-Miami. And I thought...
It was Notre Dame, South Florida for me. But.
It was not Notre Dame, South Florida. That game sucked. That game was terrible from the start. Though I wanted to highlight... if we want to talk about the game a little bit, I thought Tommy Tremble looked kind of nice. Good as a run blocker. And also, I thought...
good tight
because you got Steve Palazzolo shooting me a text. Hunter Long for Boston College grading really well. Dude was really struggling to create separation in that game and caught all 5 of the contested catches, which is great. And you're going to grade well when you catch all your contested catch opportunities. But I thought Tommy Tremble showed he had a little bit more juice. I thought Brevin Jordan had a better performance from a juice perspective. That hurdle was pretty sweet. But back to who you really want to highlight.
No, one sec. We're not going to give him fake ID because he didn't have a ton of yards. But their freshman tight end, Michael Mayer, he's going to be a first round pick.
Number 87?
What is he?
For Notre Dame?
No, he's like, is he 24? Or is
no, 24 is Tommy Trem.
Okay, he's 87.
Yeah. He's a monster. Tommy Trem. I don't think he goes by that nickname. Offensive raise the glass here is going to be Derek King. 2 big-time throws in this game. I find myself constantly bewildered at how he's able to avoid, people in the pocket as small as he is. I think he is the most fun to watch player in college football through the first 3 weeks.
It's going to be interesting to see the conversation if he says he wants to play quarterback and
in the
happens.
NFL.
Yeah, because he's 5'9", 5'10". He's not going to, and he does not have the arm Kyler Murray has. He has a fairly weak arm.
Not close. Kyler Murray is a different level.
Yeah, and so I don't think the NFL is going to really give him a shot at quarterback. But he is electric. I would not be surprised if he catches on at a different position, whether it's running back or wide receiver. Defensive raise the glasses. Elene Mcneal of NC State, a guy we've talked about due in large part that he was on Bruce Feldman's Freaks list, and we had a segment about guys we wanted to go back to the tape on because they were on that list. And I remember going back and being really impressed. This past week, an 89.9 overall grade for Elene Mcneal. Dude, him in the run game was a lot of fun to watch. And one, he's just so tough in terms of his speed, his get off. He's explosive. So explosive. And I thought this game, and I was against Wake Forest, not world beaters along the offensive line, but he was eating doubles better than we saw last year from him. We need a segment on eating doubles. Oh, dude. I love double from In-N-Out. We get a sponsor from that. Oh, man. Perfect. In-N-Out just sends it all the way to the East Coast. That would be truly incredible. He's working his way up. I feel like he works his way up to DT board with how athletic he is. Nice. Similar to a Neville Gallimore, where if he has big season, I think this guy could get into the second round. There you go. Have yourself a day, Elene Mcneal. You're moving up Mike's board. All right, pour one out. We're getting back to negativity at the collegiate level, starting with Boston College offensive lineman Zion Johnson. 3 pressures allowed. Bull rush by Rumpf. Yeah, he got bull rushed by Chris Rumpf. It's unfortunate. Which is tough to say out loud. So this is a guy I like it on the interior. And I think he's going to be an interior offensive lineman in the NFL. A big dude, transferred from Davidson 2 years ago to Boston College, or first year at Boston College, last year at guard. He's not going to be a tackle. And they put him out of tackle this year. Understandable, because you put your best offensive lineman at tackle. But he's going to be an interior lineman, but this one got away from him. He's going up against Chris Rumpf. Chris Rumpf gave him a little of the business. So unfortunate, pour one out for Zion, but I just kind of want to see him. He's one of those guys, if you're at tackle, just see him get better over the course of the year. You might not be great right away, but towards the end of the year, if he's getting better, then you got something to work with. But I think he's an interior lineman. Defensively, we're pouring one out for Reed Blankenship, the safety. What was the number one question mark with Reed Blankenship? The Middle Tennessee State safety. I like him as a prospect. Tackling. And what did he do against Troy? 4 missed tackles. and it's not just that he misses tackles, that there's just nothing to his tackles. He needed to add muscle. I don't think he did much over the course of the offseason. Like I said, I'm going to keep saying it with them. Say it with the guy every year. I had L'Jarius Sneed last year, Marvell Tell the year before, safeties. I think you should move to corner. Tackling is not as big of an issue in your outside corner. It's not a bad take. Yeah. All right, last segment of the podcast today. We're going to go with the fake ID. I wanted to highlight Dillon Gabriel here, Mike. What was your opinion of his game? He's got a popcorn arm. He doesn't have. What's wrong with popcorn arms? We've seen Gardner Mitchell have success. I know it's fun to doubt popcorn arms, and obviously your ceiling is limited. You don't open up the entire field. There's a reason NFL evaluators have been falling in love with rocket arms since literally the 50s. Yeah. Jamarcus Russell went number 1 overall because he'd throw 80 yards off his back while eating a McDouble. But I'm saying Dillon Gabriel, popcorn arm, here we go, noodle, whatever it is, you're going to grade well in PFF system if you consistently put the ball where it needs to go with accuracy. And that's exactly what he's doing, and he's grading well doing it. 7 big-time throws this past week. And it was against Georgia Tech. Mm-hmm. Not a dreadful, defense. It's not like you're doing it against the Citadel, like Trevor Lawrence, who... Can we talk about Trevor Lawrence for a second? Yeah, I need to. Trevor Lawrence, people were like, oh my gosh, it's against the Citadel. Who cares? The throws he was putting on tape, specifically the deep ball right in the back of the end zone, and then that fireball over the middle. Yeah. I don't care what defense you're playing against. Yeah. That is arm talent on display. Not. That one throw was 60 yards, throw to catch. It was absurd. I don't understand how people were bringing up on the timeline, against Citadel. It's did you just see what he did with the football using his right arm? That's not something I don't care if you do it against 5th graders. To do that and put it on display was really, really impressive. Trevor Lawrence is someone we could bring up every single week, but he's the highest graded college quarterback in football right now, and for very good reason, because this guy, like you said last week, is getting better somehow. Yeah. But, okay, back to Dillon Gabriel. Sorry, Dillon. I could do the whole podcast about Trevor Lawrence. But, yeah, Dillon Gabriel, the interesting thing is, so he's only a true sophomore. We've seen arm strength get stronger if a guy gets, bigger, more, if he themselves get stronger. So he has time to get to that. But 6 foot, 186, he's just not there right now.
Yeah.
But he is playing lights out football. I mean, an 80.3 passing grade as a true freshman. 90.2 this past week against Georgia Tech. It's 7 big time throws. He throws a pretty ball. He is accurate with the football. We'll see how his career develops. I picked him to go to the playoff, if you recall.
I do recall.
So I'm hoping he figures, I'm hoping
I have to continue to light it up if they're going to go to the playoffs. That's going to do it for 2-for-1 Drafts, the Rookies and Draft Prospects podcast. Encourage you guys to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you find podcasts. Also encourage you to tune in on Thursday. Yeah, it's the Thursday podcast where we preview the NFL Week 3 and College Football Week 4 slate. We also got Ohio State football coming up. Big Ten, I guess I should have said. Ohio State's kind of rude. The Big Ten is playing football, and then also the SEC's coming up as well.
This weekend.
That I am stoked for. So a lot of good stuff to come on 2-for-1 Drafts. Until next time, Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, 2-for-1 Drafts.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.